Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm comedian Preacher Moss. I hope you're having a blessed Ramadan. Listen, I just want to take a couple of minutes of your time to talk about Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. Olive Branch Muslim Family Services represents a lot in the city of Houston. You have a lot of relief organizations throughout the country, throughout the state, but I have to say Olive Branch Muslim Family Services is one for the home team of the city of Houston. Listen, let me tell you about myself. I've always lived this idea that I'm always going to have more blessings than I'm going to have problems. And in that space, I've been able to understand that the blessings sometimes mean I can be a blessing in somebody else's life, much the same with Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. Years ago, maybe 2 years ago, we had a video and it asked the profound question, imagine if it wasn't an olive branch. Not so much the organization, but the absence of compassion and mercy. Imagine if there wasn't an olive branch. Not so much a question, but a reminder of a prophetic tradition that all of our prophets who have came to advocate for the poor and uplift the suffering. Imagine if there wasn't an olive branch. Thinking about that. OBMFS. I changed the letters from Olive Branch Muslim Family Services and dug a little deeper, thinking about that prophetic tradition. So Olive Branch Muslim Family Services is really Olive Branch's mission is family success. We need your help. While you're writing out that check, brothers and sisters, think about that. What's a world without compassion? What's good music without good instruments? What's a president that's distrustful and not honest? Okay, let me get back focused. In any event, imagine if there wasn't an olive branch. Let me remind you.
We just need help.
Imagine if there wasn't an olive branch. Muslim Family Services at your command. The people who help people have to say, we need your donations, don't delay. We all have struggles from time to time, but leaders dedicated is what you find. Before another person sheds a tear, support Olive Branch, you don't have to fear. Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. Action you can see, compassion you can feel. Sing it with me. Ooh. Ooh. All right. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I am comedian Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, a shout out show. Hope that you're having a great day today. Thanks so much, Satana, for getting us right here. Shout out to everybody at the Engage Gala yesterday for the iftar. I'll be at DC Mayor Bowser's iftar tomorrow, inshallah, in Washington, D.C. We will see. On top of that, man, it was just really, really interesting to see a mix of people who were talking about some of the political issues of today. A lot of times when we do our fundraisers, if you will, let me just correct this a little bit. I'm sorry. But when we do our fundraisers, it's really interesting because we see them as religious social gatherings, but to be around people who are doing what I refer to as the political work in our community, the political foot soldiering of the work, is interesting to hear them talk about issues of social justice in terms of advocacy, in terms of actually confronting laws, getting new bills introduced, things like that. I thought it was really, really interesting. And I thought also to see the space. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib was there from Michigan, and she was making the point of how she grew up around African Americans in Detroit. Her family, she was part of a family. She was the oldest of 14, and she shouted out Congressman Al Green about his efforts and how he had kind of mentored her when she was a young congresswoman. I find myself asking myself a lot of questions like, where's the advocacy? Where's the new advocacy from the Muslim community? Because it can't always be relief efforts. What I mean by that is there are a lot of things going on in the world, in the community, that affect us beyond our religious identity. And it was really interesting. Speaking of that, you probably it's becoming way too commonplace. Let's just say that. It seems like every other day or like every other week or once a week, there's some type of shooting, some type of mass shooting The makeup of the shooting is innocents are shot by somebody who is, I don't want to say trouble, but definitely in a weird space, if you will, and they commit these crimes, and it's at a record-breaking pace. And they talked about, and it was so interesting today when they talked about the shootings in Louisville at this particular bank. They talked about how this time they're giving you different statistics that the school shootings are the first time since 2009 they've had this many school shootings that involve more than 4 people getting killed. And I'm like, are we trying to segment the victims? Are we trying to somehow break it in another category so we have something different, something different to talk about? Or are we actually asking really valid questions about what's going on? And today's topic is shots fired, the truth behind mass shootings, mass killings. I'm actually going to take a little bit of time today, and it's going to be a little bit clinical, but I think if we can follow along, and I guess if all of us could get to the finish line, there's a lot of stuff that we are missing with these shootings. So I want to go take any more time up. Let's go ahead and get the show started. Preacher Mars, ShOUT Show. Okay, so I'm sitting around, I'm going through my normal things I do. The reason I got on these glasses is because I misplaced my other glasses. I need these glasses to find the other glasses, by the way. But I'm kind of brushing through my phone. I get the news feeds, and it pops right there. Another school shooting, not a school shooting, I'm sorry, but this is a mass shooting involving people at a bank, and 4 people are killed, 9 people are injured. It's becoming all too commonplace. And I asked myself, I said, what is this thing that we're engaging in, that we're watching, visually engaging these shootings? And it does seem like it's a far from us because it's not happening directly to us, or it's not happening to people that we know per se. But it does have some implications in terms of how we're living and how we could be living. While I said, it doesn't seem like it's close. It seems like it's TV, theater, something like that. We've seen this stuff in the movies. We watch violence in movies. One of the top movies was John Wick 4. Not one, but 4. John Wick's killed a lot of people. And I've seen all 3 movies and probably go see the 4th. I'm just keeping it real. But my point is, you start doing the homework. That fact that I gave you, that not since 2009 have they had this many mass shootings that have involved more than 4 people. I'm like, you mean since 2009 we've really been seeing this? And it does tie into what's going on in Tennessee with the removal of 2 black Democrats from Nashville State House. What I want us to understand is that, let me throw this out here. To many of you watching, the things that you're thinking, I'm thinking, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. Statistically, most of the shooters are white men. They talk about, out of all the shooters, 41% are white men, 20 plus some are Latino, and 16% are black. So what does that tell you about gun control and crime statistics? It says that we're not at the top of the food chain for this. But it also says something that's really important. And I don't want us to miss this fact. In doing the research, I had a study that came out. And what the study rebuffed was the fact that the people who are committing these mass shootings are somehow mentally impaired, that they have mental health issues that are so abound that they act out in this way. And what they did was they did the research and they found out that while some people may act out that way in terms of a mental health crisis, 9 times out of 10, they're impaired. They don't do it. Meaning, if these people are not doing it that we think are crazy or out of pocket, well, who are the people that are really doing it? And the study was interesting because it gave a really, really good breakdown. I'm going to share it with you. Please be patient. Listen to what the study says. The psychological profiles. It says the psychological profiles and motivation of these perpetrators were examined. With the exception, many of these individuals tended to be younger males who were empty, angry, nihilistic, felt rejected by society, were socially, occupationally, and or academically unsuccessful, and blamed society for their failures. These individuals tend to have very fragile egos and were very narcissistic, feeling they were much more special than they actually were and deserving of fame and notoriety. They harbored a strong, strong desire for this notoriety and infamy. Committing a mass shooting instantly produces these results in this culture. What I'm saying, brothers and sisters, we're in the thick of it. We just had 4 years of a presidency that was evidence, according to this, evidence, for lack of a better word, that we have a mass shooter culture. So what you saw on January 6th was a prelude. This is just a formal acting out. But there are people, if it's 41% of white males and they're young, and the other trait that they said is a lot of them are having social issues, where it might be child custody, things like that. Well, my question is, how do we combat that? We are the innocents. We are the people who are trying to work it out. Religious people with a high level of optimism, a high level of idealistic ritual, and I want to say religious practice, who seek a higher power, who tend to look and say, I need help in adjustments. This is important. Just think about that. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and get my shout out family real quick. It was just on my heart, family. So please forgive me. You know, when I see these shootings, I start thinking of a lot of mass violence that's happened over the years. I mean, I'm talking about, well, we'll talk about it. But let me give some shout out. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to my good sister Ree. How are you doing? Ree, I need to know if I can get that dinner for my iftar tonight. Don't play now. I got back too late to come get it, but let me know if the iftar is on tonight and I have to go pick that dinner up. All right. Peace and blessings to you and Derek and Jawan. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My big brother Bilal Salahuddin and his unquestionable queen, Sister Sonia Salahuddin. How you doing, beloved? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm throwing this question out to the family today about these mass shootings because this is, I'm going to read a little bit more, but this is something that's not going to go away. Just think about this. Shout out. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The big brother Eric Carter. We renamed him from Eric to the Big E. Big E is checked in. How you doing, beloved? Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope everybody's fast is going well. And I want to give a shout out to my main man, Mr. 6 o'clock, Mr. Straight Up, Straight Down, Brother Altaf Rashid checking in from Toronto, coming across the border with no passport. What's going on, beloved? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. Thank you so much for tuning in. Everybody, I'm going to be sending out everything for the virtual iftars. I got the email today from Satana, so I'll be taking care of that either later today or first thing in the morning. If you guys will allow me and just be patient, I'm going to be traveling, but it will be taken care of tomorrow. And we want to make sure we give a shout out. My little brother, man, he's checking in. Working man, working stiff. How you doing, beloved? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Appreciate you, man. Much love. Give my salams to the family, as you know. And back on the fasting track today. Alhamdulillah. Thank you guys for your du'as, boy. Finally, those allergies and bronchitis subsided, and your boy came out strong. They even hit the track. I'm feeling good now. All right. And of course, we got to give a shout out to our illustrious executive producer, Satana Whitfield, Walekum Assalam, Rahmatullahi Barakatuh, and Ramadan Kareem to you too. All right. So let me jump back into this subject matter a little bit. Talking about mass shootings. I mean, when somebody gives you something in the crime business, there's two tracks that you do. One is a research track, and one is an engagement track. So I tried to do the research track, and now I'm going to give you the engagement. What this study is saying is that the society, as currently constructed, is going to produce more and more and more of this. And it's not what you would think in terms of a copycat space. Inherently, we've said this for a number of years. We said this during COVID when it first hit. That the thing that was scary about COVID is that you now have people with no social skills who are left to the devices of TV, the internet, social media to form opinions, and they form those opinions without actually basing them against anything else, meaning that they don't have nobody to debate with about their opinion. They have no, so it means that these people are 100% right when they walk out of the house. We are seeing the development of that, the evolvement of that, because now, as I said, we're dealing with a weird type of thing where people are out in public, but they're still isolated. And what they do with all of these shooters, and you hear the noise that. And here's the other thing I'm going to say about. Oh, drop my phone. Oh, okay. Sorry about that, family. I dropped my phone. Hopefully, I come back on. All right, I'm not coming back on. All right. Hold on, family. All is not lost. Let me see here. All right, so I got to roll like this today. This is terrible. This is actually kind of funny. I got a new camera now. I can't do anything with it. Y'all probably thought somebody did something to me. All right, so we're going no green screen today. So what I was saying was, it's becoming more and more indicative of the fact that, hear me now, society has produced these conditions, but there's no resolution. You know, for 4 years of Trump, what I understood was we watched somebody who wasn't healthy make decisions. And when you're not healthy, you watch somebody that's not healthy as well make decisions, and you have, I want to say, shared core values. The thing that's interesting is that you're not actually able. Hear me out. You're not actually able to distinguish that. You feel a familiarity with that, and to the point where that person's opinion is something that you are signing off on. That person's opinion is something that you're saying, "Hey, that person agrees with me." I've heard this before where people go, "Yeah, Trump agrees with me," and then they go, "I agree with Trump." Um, I'm gonna give you a statistic, and then we're gonna take a quick break because I messed this camera up. Satana's like, "You sure did," but that's live TV. I shared with you this idea about. Um, I shared with you this idea about the shooters. Can I give you guys this? They say there's three reasons why you have these shooters. And I'm going to introduce a term to you. You might remember it from back in the day, but remember it now because now it's interesting. They have a term called suicide by cop. And suicide by cop is what they used to call police assisted suicide, where you would have these shootings because all these shootings have one thing in common. None of the shooters try to get away, one, and they all wind up being shot by the police. We're not looking for suspects in a mass shooting. Hear this thought. This is three reasons why you have these mass shooters. One, they don't really have a conscience about what they're about to do. They don't care. Two, they don't have familiarity with the people they're about to hurt. This bank thing is different, and take note because they say that the bank person knew people who were in the bank. We used to talk about people going postal back in the day. Remember that's the time of people going postal? Um, Ironically, they went postal because they knew people who were in the bank, in the post office. They said, one, the people don't have conscience about what they're doing. Say, two, which I think is interesting, is they don't have familiarity with the people that they're trying to injure or hurt or kill. And three, they're not worried about breaking the law. They're not worried about getting caught. This is important because I'm going to say this, and I might be out of line. I might be totally wrong, right? If you look at the insurrection and the behavior that happened at the insurrection, I'm just talking about as a whole. Don't have to bring anything down. The one thing that I thought was amazing with all this social media and cameras and people shooting themselves is nobody worried about getting caught. Nobody worried about getting caught. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. How many arrests were made on January 6th? I'm talking about at the actual. They should have had a big truckloads of people should have gone to jail. Nobody went to jail. They had to go through all of this research and investigation to find out who was who. People are taking pictures. You know who it is. People are telling on each other. But much the same as these mass shooters, they don't worry about getting caught. So let me give you some statistics on this, and hopefully I won't knock my camera over. How about that? That would be a big plus for Brother Preach. They gave some statistics about these shooters. And now I lost my statistics. Okay. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Sorry. All right, maybe some other one. Oh, I'm sorry, family. Messing up today, boy. Under the suicide by cop situation, check this out. A study published in 2009 using data from 1998 to 2006 found out that among 707 officer involved shootings, suicide by cop comprised 36% of the cases. Here's the deal. 51% of them were completed, 95% of them are male, right? Average age, 35 years old. Let's get this one straight. 41%, I said 41% were Caucasian, 26% Hispanic, 16% African American. Listen to the last percentage I gave you. 16% African American. 37 were single, 29% had children, 18% were experiencing some sort of domestic thing. Now here's the deal. 62% had confirmed a probable mental health in terms of that. But when you're talking about suicide by cop, you're not talking mass shooting. It's now mitigated. It's now migrated over to now we are seeing what used to be suicide by cop turning into mass shootings in some regards, where it's not enough to me to take my life and taunt the police. I'm now going to take other people with me. And it has to do systemically with the fact that the mental health shift here in America has happened. It's tied into economics. It's tied in religious and racial indifference. It is tied into the fact that we are numb, and it's tied into the fact that we don't have a real gun violence policy. We do not. And not having a good gun violence policy continues to plague us. See, all of the things that are happening with mass shooting, because they said something was interesting about people who actually are mentally health, have mental health issues and commit violence, that most of the time, less than 80% of the time, they don't use a gun. They don't use a gun. So what does it say about a policy, right? What does it say about the facts? Are we even talking about this thing accurately? Because I see more and more and more and more and more and more guns, the proliferation of guns out there, and people say the answer to gun violence is to have a gun. No, the answer to gun violence is not have a gun. If you are experiencing anxiety, if you are experiencing some of the things that I talked about, the loneliness, the isolation, the last thing you need is a gun. If you break down a woman who did the shooting at this Nashville elementary school, not elementary school, but the Nashville Christian school. This was not somebody who was listed as having mental illness. She had graduated, she was an art student, she was working, she was a graphic designer. And then you say, well, what is that thing? Well, you can have all of that. You can have all of that, but there can be an emptiness. And when it's not addressed, when it's not addressed appropriately, and I don't want to say religiously, but I'm saying when it's not addressed in a meaningful way, it does create the situation we're in now, and it's just triggering. We're gonna take a quick break. I'll be right back. It's your boy Preacher Mars Shout Out Show. I want you to listen to my main man Imam Anwar talking about his reasons to love a lot more.
Yeah. So how can I love Allah more? I think that this is a question that I reflect on a lot because, I've always been interested in learning how to be more loving of God and what that actually means. So what I found myself doing every time I, go inside of myself is starting from a point of deep, deep appreciation and gratitude for all of the blessings, man. It's just so much that I'm blessed with in my life, and just taking inventory of it and keeping track of it and consciously like trying to live gratefully. Like I know that I have problems like everyone else does, but I also have an amazing number of things that are just good in my life. And, I try to focus on those things and express my gratitude, like not just say Alhamdulillah, for example, but, I have a phrase that I coined for myself, like live Alhamdulillah. And so that's all. I just try to, be more thankful to God and appreciate what Allah has given me, and tell Allah that I'm grateful, and I love you for giving me these things that some of them I asked you for, a lot of them I didn't, and I have them. And every blessing is just a reminder of how amazing my Creator is, and I should therefore be more loving. And so that's what I'm trying to do, and that's how I try to live. And it's not perfect. I don't do it perfectly. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I complain. I get frustrated. Sometimes, I act like I don't know that I'm blessed. But every once in a while, I consciously, like Ramadan now, I consciously try to sit down and just say, you know what, man, in spite of all of this stuff that you got going on that's problematic right now, you are blessed. So I try to live gratefully. I try to be a blessing in someone's life, if that is possible. And I think that's the best.
All right. So we appreciate it, man. Anwar. Listen, we've come to the end of the show, but I would absolutely advocate that we all pray and make dua for those who find themselves isolated, that find themselves empty, not connected, and let's go, make dua, but let's make the effort to go out and reach out to these people, because a lot of this, in some regards, can be. I would like to say, inshallah, it can be. It can't be avoided. It can't be prevented. All right. Listen, that's our show today. Thank you so much. I'm sorry about some of the technical stuff, folks, but God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.